Is this sweet? I can't tell.
Hi. Excuse me. It's us from the Weekly Metal Reviews. We're not reviewing anything. Yeah. We're here with a list. I feel like we haven't done
technically three of them.
Yeah. I feel like we haven't done a musical list in a little while.
Yeah.
But here we are, woken and outspoken.
Do a list of diarrhea.
We did the top 10 albums of the 70s, 80s, 90s. Now we're about to do the 2000s.
100s.
The aughts.
The 15, 20s.
So yeah, let's do this. We're going to do it a little bit differently. We usually kind of go in order, but technically we always go in order, but we kind of swing around. Why don't you start?
I start?
What's your in this, our lists are like super subjective, man. It's just our opinions. There's a lot of great albums that came out.
It's our favorite ones.
Yeah, I probably had like 25 albums that I wanted to put on.
Especially when I thought about a bunch of albums, there was a lot of albums.
Are there any like really like I have, like I said, I have a lot that I want to put on, but only a couple that I would really want to give honorable mentions to. Do we want to give honorable mentions to any really quick?
I have two honorable mentions. My two honorable mentions are Winter Sun's self-titled album. I mean, I think I'm not going to get into too much detail because it's not part of my list. And I have Volume 3, Subliminal Messages by Slipknot as an honorable mention.
Mm-hmm. I had that too. I had Brand New Eyes by Paramore. And then Simple Plan's first album. Just balls.
I had The Fall of
No
Ideals.
pads, no helmets, just balls.
I had The Fall of Ideals from All That Remains. Incredible album.
Blink 182. You have that?
No. And I have Sons of Northern Darkness by Immortal and Annihilation of the Wicked by Nile. Just barely missed.
No, I'm not going to ask. What? You might have it. I don't want to spoil it. I was going to ask if you have the Big C. Creed. Who the fuck else is the Big C?
I have no Creed on my list.
I have no Creed on my list either.
So I'm saying there's a lot of
angers that ever said Dingus.
At first when I started my list, I was like, fuck man, I can't really think of a lot that I want to put on here. But then as I started diving in, it just kept pouring. There's a lot of good music in it. Anyways.
Yeah.
Do it!
So, alright, I'll start with mine. I'll be quite frank, the first two on my list are kind of different from the rest of my list.
I thought you were Keith.
But number 10, I have American Idiot by Green Day. I'm not a big fan of Green Day, but I genuinely like this album. It's a cool concept album, and this album has the only songs by Green Day that I really care about. I mean, Dookie's okay, but I mean, it has a title track, American Idiot, and then it has Holiday, Boulevard of Broken Dreams, which is, the best Green Day song. Jesus of Suburbia is not half bad, and Wake Me Up When September Ends is like that, typical teen like angst anthem. But it's just a good album, and it's nice.
I remember when that album came out.
Album was
fucking everywhere. Turn on the radio, fucking any channel was playing Boulevard of Broken Dreams.
Yeah, so it's like
I remember for like a week straight, every morning I got on the bus to go to school. It was like middle school. They were playing Wake Me Up When September Ends every fucking morning for a week straight. I swear.
Because it's fucking the beginning of school, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, number 9, I have the Marshall Mathers LP by Eminem. We
got a gangster
Yo,
rapper.
what the hell, man? This is Weekly Metal Reviews. What is this shit?
I'm waiting for that for that comment to come up again.
My name is who? Is that the right album?
No, that was the first album.
I tried.
This is the second album. In my opinion, this is the best Eminem album.
What the fuck is on that album?
And this one has the real Slim Shady. Has Stan, the song Stan. Fuck.
Lose Yourself?
No, that's from the soundtrack, so it's not actually technically on an album. And then this one has my favorite Eminem song, which is The Way I Am. And there's other songs. Fuck, what's it? Bitch Please is on this album. That's the name of the song. The song's fucking great. It's got like Snoop Dogg and Exhibit and a bunch of people and a couple other people who don't like matter anymore on it.
Doggy Dog.
It's great. Yeah, this just, I mean, this is probably the best kind of mix of what Eminem ever was between, you know, being, you know, a solid rapper, but then also, you know, being a shock rapper in a way, you know, when he was edgy for a while. Like, I mean, one of the songs, you know, talks about Columbine in it, which, you know, it just happened a couple years ago at that point, so edgy.
He's regular Edgy Watts.
Edgy Watts. All right. Number 8, I have Iron by Insefure. I have 2 to pick from, but this is my favorite Insefure album with Yari in it. And I mean, this album has my favorite Insefure song, which is Into Battle. That's my favorite like song that they've really ever written. That it's such a fun song to listen to, and it also has like Iron, Sword Chant, and has a cover of Battery, which I think is done very well.
Slayer of Light.
Slayer, yeah, it's another good one. Lie Lie High is another cool song. Like, it's just again, like I said, it's the best Insefure album that has Yari on it. Number 7, I have Twilight of the Gods by Amon Amarth. I really like this album. I mean, also for the 2 main reasons, which I'll talk while I look this up because I'm dumb and I didn't look up the track listings because I don't remember.
That's what I spend all my time on, fool.
Yeah, I got you. But you know, I mean, it has like Guardians of Asgard on here, which was the first Amon Amarth song I ever heard, and then it also has
the title track is one of the best solos I've ever heard in my life.
Yes,
that they
is
never
part of it.
play live because they can't do it.
It is, I mean, this and like the album, I really like. What?
Is that the one that's Pursuit of the Vikings?
No, that was
That's Fate of Norn.
Fate of Norn.
2004.
But like, you know, other cool songs is that I like is I do like the Tattered Banners and Bloody Flags. I like that song. And Live for the Kill is cool. It has Apocalyptica on it, which is a cool thing from that album. I'm not sure if it's my favorite Amon Amarth album because I like some of the albums that they put out a little bit more recently, but it's a really good album. Let's see here. Let me pull my list back up because I don't remember off the top of my head. Number 6, I have Ashes of the Wake, Lamb of God. Solid album. I mean, it's maybe besides their new one, which their new one might take the cake. It's my favorite Lamb of God album. Which, I mean, it's everybody's favorite album. Oh, well, I don't care. I don't care. I mean, this album has cool songs like, of course, it has Laid to Rest and Hourglass. Now You've Got Something to Die For. Blood of the Scribe. The Faded Line, like Omerta. This album's just good. And it's like... You know, for a while there, it was the peak of Lamb of God. You know, I guess because even though I haven't heard too much of their middle stuff, you know, it's kind of, I guess it went downhill. But now they're back up. But this was like the album. I've been listening to this album a lot lately, and so I've kind of, especially after seeing them live and their new album, I kind of went back and started listening to some older stuff. And this album, really good. Number 5, I have Brave New World, Iron Maiden. This is, in my opinion, the best Iron Maiden album since Bruce Dickinson's return, and also probably one of the best Iron Maiden albums. Period. Mm-hmm. I mean, the title track is incredible. Dream of Mirrors is another really good song. Blood Brothers is another song that I remember specifically off the top of my head. Like, this album is, you know, again, it's one of those things of, you know, Iron Maiden proving that they can still do what they do best after the album before that, which was I don't remember, but there's a reason why I don't remember it, and it's because but it was just not the
Sorry.
because I do not give a shit about the 2 albums that they did without Bruce Dickinson.
Who was the singer?
I don't even remember.
Brucey Love.
Like it's like their first 2 albums with Paulie Diano, they're self-titled and Killers, awesome albums. But those 2 just, I've listened to. I just don't.
Blaze Bailey.
Blaze Bailey, yes, that is it.
They just don't.
That is it.
It just doesn't hit it where this hits it.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's one of the best Iron Maiden
It
albums.
looks like
period.
a thumb.
Yeah, well, it's like Virtual 11, I think.
Yeah, Virtual 11, and there's
Something I don't
it's
know because I literally don't give a fuck.
yeah, I'm of that mindset. But yeah, said Brave New World's a great album. Number 4, I have Iced Earth, The Glorious Burden. Albums.
That is a good album.
Album's incredible. This album could have easily been in my number 1, but then I honestly like again, there's 3 albums that I honestly like a little bit better. But this album has Declaration Day, which is a fantastic opener. Probably one of my favorite, if not one of my favorite ballads of all time. When the Eagle Cries is just epic as shit. And then it's got it's got Hollow Man,
Fucking
Attila, Red Baron, Blue Max, and then it has the whole Gettysburg section of it, which is some of the best metal or music written, especially during this time period. It's just fucking incredible.
During the 1860s.
Yeah,
Best
The
metal-
Reckoning. That's what the song is.
Best
The Reckoning.
metal
Yeah,
written
yeah,
during
yeah.
the 1860s.
Yeah. So, yeah, Iced Earth. Again, number 4. Number 3, I have Shogun by Trivium. I like this album. Initially, I'll admit I wasn't the biggest fan. I wasn't sure why, but then after listening to it a bunch of times, it's hard to not like songs like the title track Shogun, which has actually become one of my favorite Trivium songs. Period. Kirisuke Gomen, Down from the Sky, and all the songs like that are just
I forgot to put that on my honorable mentions.
what.
It's Trivium shit.
Trivium. Was it Prometheus like a Star in Heaven or whatever? So there's the album's just great because it's probably the peak of Trivium's songwriting ability and sound, in my opinion. It doesn't get much more complex and and whatnot.
The Calamity.
The Calamity's another good one. His album's is just really, really good. It's the next step from the Crusades, which I do really like the Crusades, but it's the next step up. Fuck off. Okay. Number 2 is an album that was honestly out of all of these albums, this was, especially from the metal side, this was the first album from the 2000s that I heard, and it was the album that got me into the more extreme styles of metal, which is why I kind of had to put it at number 2. I have Scream Aim Fire by Bullet My Valentine. I just really, really like that album.
Very nice.
And I think it's the best metalcore album ever written. That's my opinion. I think this album is fucking wonderful. With again, the title track, Waking the Demon, Deliver Us from Evil, other songs. And then it has some of the more, lighter / campier songs, Say Goodnight's a cool ballad. When Hearts Burst into Fire is cool.
Tears Don't
Jesus.
Fall. Is that on that album?
No, that's on the first album.
Okay, good.
But Eye of the Storm is a cool song. It's again, this album was the first of the more extreme, I guess is the good word to use, more modern metal sounds, and it's has a special place in my heart. And then number 1, I have The Blackening by Machine Head. God,
Yeah, man.
this album, God, I remember the first time hearing Clenching the Fist of Dissent was down here in your basement when that one fucking video got recorded and stuff happening. Like, oh god. There's like this, Aesthetics of Hate, Halo, Now I Lay Thee Down.
Yeah.
What's the one about wolves?
Wolves.
Okay, that's what it was. Like, it says wolves.
Pretty sure. I'll double check, but
But,
I'm pretty
like,
sure it's wolves.
This, oh god, out of all the albums, I don't think any album that like hits as hard as this one. Out of all the albums that I have on my list, like this is why I love Machine Head, and it's, if anything, I was probably, even after I listened to Scream Aim Fire and after everything else, I've listened to a couple of these albums. I for a long time was of the mindset that new metal, I don't want anything to do with it. I just want stuff from like the 80s and the early 90s. Fuck everything else. And then I heard this album, and then I'm like, you know what? This shit fucking rocks. And so, yeah. And then, so honestly, it's even a little bit beyond. Scream Aim Fire introduced me to the new metal, but then like this album opened up my taste to basically every other metal album that's on this list, which is why I have it at number 1. So,
solid list.
thank you.
Sam.
I can move that one down. I just remembered one in the middle of Keith's list, and I'm like, I thought it came out 2010. For some reason, came out 2008. Went straight to my number 1. So I had to rearrange my list a little bit. Number 10, I have Viva La Vida, or Death and All His Friends by Coldplay. I remember when this album came out, the song Viva La Vida was like huge. I mean, it's still pretty big. Coldplay's probably going to play at the Super Bowl. Like that and Yellow, and there are a few songs they have to play, but I have a new song. Shit. I just started listening to their new album the other day. It's pretty good. I like it, but they're a band that, I don't know. Like, I like a few of their songs, but I never really liked. And I can't really say many of their albums. Like, I'm really into the full album, which was, it's kind of struggling to come up with some of this list. Like, I really like this song from the 2000s. Like, I love this song, but the album, it's like more so the song than the album. This time I thought was good. Life in Technicolor, Violet Hill, Viva La Vida. It's just a really solid band. I think. It's with Coldplay. It's kind of like, you get solid songs. Like, I like them. I don't think they're like the best, but they write good songs though. I mean, that's like, I don't know how to say it without like being a dick in a way, but like, it's something that I feel is what's the word? You can like count on them almost. They're reliable to put out good music. You know what I mean? But it's not my number 1. It's my number 10. I still like it a lot though. Good album. Number 9, I have The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. I honestly didn't get into this album until like a couple of years ago, I think. What was the one song they put out? Teenagers. That was the first song I heard that on the radio all the time. I never liked that song. Like, I still am not that big of a fan of that song. But what was the other one? Well, they had Welcome to the Black Parade. That's like the big song on the album. That something about that song, like the way it starts off slow and then it just goes into this, like, I don't know, it's energetic, it's fun to listen to. They're not like, playing technical death metal or anything, but it feels energetic and fast and exciting like that. And I always was able to get into that. And they've been growing on me the past couple of years. Trying to think, it's the 11th track on the album. I know what it is. Fuck. I forget the name of the song. I'll look it up. The next album I have is number 8. It's Colors by Between the Buried and Me. And again, this is another album that I never really got. Like, I got into the Parallax too, and it's probably my favorite Between the Buried and Me album. Easily, probably my favorite. Then I kind of went back. It's like this weird feeling of going back to a band's older stuff. especially between the Buried and Me, because they've changed as a band, and someone could say like, oh well, they've always been like this and that and a bunch of different things, and like you know crocheting it together, and they do that, but they have changed over time. They've been much more, they've gotten better. They've grown as a band, and going back and listening to the older stuff is sometimes weird, but like I felt that way with Alaska. Like I feel like this, it's definitely not the Parallax too, but with Colors, like Son of Nothing, Ants of the Sky, they have some really, really, really good songs, especially Son of Nothing. I remember we saw them, what was that, last year?
Yeah.
And they play that song, and people are singing along, and you get that soft part, and
the Son of Nothing.
I mean, it's just a really, I like that album. It's one of my favorite. Yeah. Next, I have Simple Plan. Their second album, Still Not Getting Any. Their first album was an honorable mention. I like it. They have a couple songs, but then the rest are like first album songs. I think they have, like 2 or 3 off that album, maybe 4 on its best day. That I'm like, all right, yeah, this is good. But the rest it's not there. I felt with their second album, they kind of, rounded the edges a bit and got a bit more in tune with the stuff they should be playing, and I don't know, maybe matured, I guess, a little bit in that sense. Like they started playing some more like the reason why the first album kind of didn't excite me too much, aside of a few songs that were like kind of those hit songs in a way, but a couple of the songs just didn't feel like they had that hook to them. They didn't feel like, oh, that's like a song I really listen to. It kind of felt like, because even at that time they were, it's kind of weird to think about, but they were like super young when they put out their first album. Like they're still like high school, young, low 20s and stuff. And their second album in, they got better and they started writing some more, better songs. One of the earlier bands that I really started to listen to that I kind of, what's the word? Sentimental, I guess, and a bit of nostalgia, but I can still go back to this album and like, I can listen to a lot of it and just really, be into it and still jam out to it. Next I have Converge at what is that, number 6? Mm-hmm. Converge at number 6. The album Jane Doe.
Yeah.
Another band. Well, Converge is kind of weird. I got into them at a weird time before All We Love We Leave Behind came out. That's probably my favorite album by them. Honestly, it's a fucking fantastic album. I got into them. I started getting them at a weird time before that came out. So that album I felt like had much more of an impact on me. But going back to their older stuff, like Concubine and Homewrecker, bands like that are really interesting to listen to. Like some bands that are like that, hardcore, but not like in the limelight hardcore. You know what I mean? Like they're on that outer rim of the asshole that doesn't get licked. They're out there and they don't really get the acknowledgement all the time, and you get bands like that sometimes, and as they're 10, 20 years old as a band, people start recognizing them. Like you get a lot of those fake fans, like posers, that's what it's called, that people are like, oh yeah, I like Converge, they Converge, but like, and I'm not gonna lie, like I was around when the first album came out, I probably was a little kid, but you get a lot of people like that, but then you go back and listen to when you listen to their older stuff, it's like it was this raw energy, and they still have that, which is amazing, but it's one of those weird situations I was talking about with Simple Plan, where like their first album was like, because they play a different style of music, but when you get to a band like Converge, who's a really excellent songwriting and just a fucking amazing band, and they put out some energetic, raw shit, it's just wild, and it's like, damn, this is really good. And then they get better on top of that, and they change in a couple different small ways, and I mean, I liked them more, but even then it was like, I mean, this band is amazing. And this wasn't like, you know, their first album, but, you know, it's, I don't know, it was at a time where metal was still like, you know what I mean? Like As I Lay Dying and like really the earlier metal stuff, like none of these bands are the same, but, you know, that earlier metal kind of era that I didn't get to experience that much because I was still a kid, but looking back at it, it was like, when metalcore started coming around and stuff like that, and, you know, music was different. It was pretty cool. Next up, I have Iowa by Slipknot. This is probably my second favorite album by them. Volume 3 is really good. All Hope Is Gone. I still don't know how I feel about that one. That came out, fucking 8 years ago. Which, when you think about 8 years ago, that seems like a long-ass time.
Yeah.
I still don't know how I feel about that album sometimes. Like, there are some songs that I'm like, yeah, this is really good. Like, the title track is pretty good. But then, I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about Psychosocial sometimes. Sometimes I like it. Then other times I'm like, maybe this isn't that good of a song. But then I'm like, it's catchy. And I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about it. But then you go back to, like, Iowa with like People Equal Shit, Disaster Piece, fucking Heretic Anthem. You get like this, you know, and I love their first album. That might be my favorite album of theirs, when it was just like this completely new fucking thing. And even now you listen to it and it's like, what the fuck is
There's
this?
still nothing like it.
Yeah, and it was amazing. And then they put out Iowa, and like they put themselves together a bit more, you know, with, what the fuck? I can't think of words now, but like, the recording sounded a bit clearer and come together, where first time sounds like it was just recorded, you know, in a field somewhere. Yeah. Production.
Yeah. Iowa might be the most pissed off sounding album I've ever heard.
Yeah.
It's just angry all the time.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a really good album. Next, number 4, I have Constellations by August Burns Red. This album was one that, it was weird. I've still to this day, I've never seen August Burns Red. Even though they're from Lancaster, you know, I'm from Lancaster, you know, we both live in Lancaster, and I don't know, for some reason I still haven't seen them, but this album was something that, it wasn't the first like metal album that I ever listened to, and it wasn't the first like metalcore album I listened to, it wasn't the first like metalcore band that I ever listened to, but something about this album feels like where it all started, sort of, you know, like, so many bands, I'm not even gonna lie, so many bands ripped off August Burns Red.
Yeah.
So many bands try to be like August Burns Red, have the same style, the same energy. I never really got into their earlier stuff before Constellations. Like, I just never really, I didn't need to. Like, Constellations is good enough for me.
Yep.
Some of the earlier stuff, I'm like, but Constellations, they hit it, like, they hit the nail on the head with Meddler, Marianas Trench, 30 and 7.
Indonesia.
Some fucking amazing ass songs that, I don't know, it just, to me, it feels like this is where it all began.
Yeah.
You know, because...
Sorry, good.
No.
I was just going to say, to me, that album, you know, that's the peak of August Burns Red. That's kind of where I feel they kind of discovered who they are in their sound, and they've tried to keep repeating that and kind of going in this way, and it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not bad. Their past recent albums haven't been bad, but
like
that album's special, man.
Like, they're trying to do new things, but at the same time still keep their hand on where they were.
Exactly.
They can't move on in a way. Like, yeah, I know what you mean, but
yeah,
like, this album is just amazing.
Yeah.
Number 3, I had an album that Keith had. I gave him a thumbs up on it. It's American Idiot by Green Day. I used to love this album. In middle school, this was like all I listened to. For a long fucking time, this was like my favorite band, you know, and are one of my favorite bands. There were a few that I really liked, but this Green Day was up there. I didn't care that they were on the radio or anything, and American Idiot is just a fucking amazing album. Like I was thinking about putting The Fame Monster by Lady Gaga on here because that is an amazing album. Maybe it's not everyone's favorite thing, but it had Just Dance, Poker Face, Bad Romance, Paparazzi, all these huge fucking songs that, well, they are pop. Well, it's on the radio. They're fucking outstanding songs. And Lady Gaga took over the fucking world for a while. I mean, she took over the world. Like, Taylor Swift is up there now, but Lady Gaga is like fucking, you know, shoving Taylor Swift's face in the dirt, then shoving it in diarrhea dirt, diarrhea mud. It's right in the toilet. But anyway, I don't know what I was. Green Day,
Yeah.
Green Diarrhea, in their album American Diarrhea. But no, this is fucking amazing. St. Jimmy, you had the title track. Boulevard of Broken Dreams is one of the best songs ever. I mean, they put out some jams. They put out some fucking awesome songs. And it was a good band, I think, at the time in middle school that there were a number of bands I listened to that maybe I could credit a bit more for shooting me, you know, where I've taken my path through music, getting into some really cool metal bands and stuff. But Green Day kind of had a hand in that. They're that mainstream punk band with that, well, I can't say punk, but like, I don't want to say pop punk, but like...
Not even really pop punk. I don't know what
punk rock.
Yeah.
Band that you're like, oh, that's cool, that's kind of like punk, alright, and you see, you know, the hairstyle and like, oh, that's kind of cool. And then you start to like, oh, what else does punk have to offer? And you're like, oh, the Dead Milkmen, or oh, you got Black Flag in there, and you go down that rabbit hole, and that kind of takes you away. And I was into bands like Rancid and the Misfits and stuff around that time. I think maybe credit them for, you know, taking me elsewhere. But this album was one of those things that just kept, I don't know, I really liked it, you know, and I felt like it, I don't want to make it sound too deep because I was in fucking middle school and I just liked the music, but I felt like it kind of kept me into punk music. Where, I mean, you know, any given day I could have been like, I'll see what else is out there. This album just kind of kept me there and just really, it didn't start my love for punk, but it kind of nurtured it in a way that kept me in there, you know what I mean? And, you know, I knew about a number of bands, but a couple bands I found out after that, you know, like I had known about the Dead Kennedys and stuff, but I mean, they really, you know, I'm kind of going nowhere with this, but I really like this album. It was important to me at the time. Number 2, numero 2, Dos. That's right. Was the album Riot by the band Paramore. One of my fucking favorite bands of all time is actually Paramore. I think they could maybe earn a spot in my top 10. This album was like the fucking, it had some songs. I mean, it had some jams on it. Like, That's What You Get, Misery Business. It also had songs that maybe people didn't hear as much. Let the Flames Begin. It's such a fucking awesome band. Like, they, again, were kind of like this punk rock thing that was like, you know, and maybe it didn't mean as much to me. Like, if I was a girl, maybe it would have meant more that, like, hey, there's a chick in this band, she's kicking ass. And I could still appreciate that. I mean, maybe it didn't, maybe I wasn't like, oh, as a female, you know, but I can still appreciate that in a way from the outside looking in, like, that's cool, because I mean, there were some bands like Sleater-Kinney and stuff, but Sleater-Kinney kind of never, like, they were big, and I liked them, but they never really, like, took off. And I like a lot of those, you know, what are they fucking called? Punk girl bands. There's some word for it, I forget. Punk girl bands like the 90s and stuff, where it was like, yeah, you know, we're women and stuff, but a lot of those bands kind of didn't take off as much as Paramore, and they kind of got big, and they wrote good music, and I still like their music that they're writing today. And it's, you know, obviously one of my second favorite album of the 2000s. A really good album. I mean, I think if you're going to start listening to Paramore, This one's up there. I mean, they're well, not new anymore, but was it like 2 years? 2 years ago?
Yeah, something like that.
2 or 3 years ago. You know, they're a really good band, entertaining, everything. This is the album I completely forgot. I thought it came out in 2010 for whatever reason, but the album Tiger's Jaw by the band Tiger's Jaw, probably my favorite album of the 2000s. Just started getting in this band a couple years ago. I got into their album Charmer that came out in 2014. I really liked that album, and I started to go back into who they were, and this was one of the first albums I listened to from them. They've really changed over the years, but this is back when they were, I think it's fair to say, like a pop punk kind of vibe, but not, still alternative with an indie feel to it. Like, it wasn't like, I'm trying to think of someone. It wasn't like a generic pop punk thing. It was 2008, kind of punk rock, indie feeling. It was cool. Like, they wrote some really good songs on this album, like The Sun, Chemicals. It was a really good album. I think there are still some songs like Heat that I never really got into as much. Arms Across America, you know, songs like that are on the album that I'm like, maybe I'll listen to every now and then. But, I mean, The Sun is one of my favorite songs. It's also one of my favorite stars in the night sky, or in the daytime sky. Well, it's still out there at night. It doesn't go away. You know, sun, you can't see it at night. You know, can't explain that. Between your band and the other band, they had some weird names. That's one of my favorite songs off this album. It was really good, fun to listen to, energetic, and it's a band that, like they were having fun, you know, and it wasn't like, oh, let's write some serious shit and, you know, we got to get out there. It's like some people you really feel like some people got together, wrote some cool fucking songs, like, yeah, why not? And they put this out, and it's fucking awesome, and you feel it's fun to listen to, and good album. Shout out to The Sun for keeping us all alive.
Is that it?
No. I have a secret real number one. Can You Take Me Higher by the Creed. And by the way, it is the Creed, isn't it?
All right. My number 10.
What's your number 10?
Black Sun by Primal Fear.
Ooh.
It's my number 10.
The sun coming through again.
Yeah, exactly. This time
Where
it's
is it?
black, so it's not burning anymore, so we're all fucked.
Papa bless.
Yeah.
Like Papa John be with you.
This is by far, in my opinion, the best Primal Fear album. This is one of the best metal albums, just straight up fucking metal albums ever written. The riffs in the songwriting, this is just the best Primal Fear has ever done. I mean, songs like the title track, Armageddon, Silence, Light Years from Home, fucking Magic Eye, Mind Machine. I mean, it's a lot of these riffs are so heavy, and the solos are great, the melodies are great. Ralph Sheepers just completely destroys on vocals on this album, and you know, Primal Fear has been one of my favorites, arguably probably my favorite band in the past 2.5 years since I really discovered them. And when I first listened to this album, I was completely floored. And honestly, this is the first... When I first heard Primal Fear, it was this album. So, yeah. It's a great album. Number 9, I have Crack the Sky by Mastodon. This album is just completely breathtaking from start to finish, man. I mean, opening up with Oblivion is just so... It's so hard to describe. I mean, that song is so just... It has just a strange fucking feeling to it. And then, you know, the album just evolves into just such a fucking masterpiece of progressive metal. and just music in general. And, you know, Crack the Sky, the title track, is one of the most beautiful songs. It pays tribute to the drummer's sister who committed suicide when she was 14. And, you know, it's just such a powerful song. And, you know, then you have, like, The Last Baron and The Czar, just 10 and 13-minute epics. Just, it's such a incredible album. I think a lot of people say Leviathan is Mastodon's best album, and that's more of their aggressive days. I like this more slowed down, melodic Mastodon with Crack the Sky, personally. So, it's my number 9. My number 8, I have Testament with the Formation of Damnation. This is one of the heaviest fucking albums you'll ever hear. I mean, just listen to More Than That Meets the Eye, or Afterlife, or help me out.
Persecuted Won't Forget.
Yes. Fuck. That song is incredible. I mean, this is Testament. Testament went away for a little while in the early 2000s. You know, Chuck Billy had cancer, and it, you know, all kinds of stuff. And then they came back with this fucking monster of an album. I mean, the title track, that middle section of the title track, when it's just fucking open, like, chugs, man. It's like, it's like, it's awesome. And Chuck Billy just completely pops out of the album and grabs you by the throat and fucking kills you. It's awesome. I love this album. I feel this album, too, played its hand in kind of this resurgence of thrash metal over the past few years, where it's just all these, there's a lot of new bands that have just been kicking ass in thrash, and then a lot of old bands have been coming back and putting out excellent albums. And this is a album that I feel, you know, was in kind of the early phase of that. Great album. Number 7, I have an album that Sam had, Colors by Between the Buried and Me. I think this is one of the best progressive metal albums ever written. Just like Sam said, like Ants in the Sky and Son of Nothing, and to me, White Walls is just unbelievably good. I mean, from start to finish, that opening riff in White Walls is so good, and, you know, just the journey that song takes you on, especially when it gets to, you know, the middle section, is just so beautiful, and then the solos at the end is just so good. And I love that harmonized guitar that at the end is just one of the best guitar harmonies you'll ever hear. I feel, you know, listening to Between the Buried Me's early stuff is just kind of strange, and then, you know, then you get to Alaska, which is a good album, but then here is when they really evolve to be kind of who they are now. And I feel now they're a much more complicated band than this album. But this album is just so strong from start to finish, and it's seriously a ride. And I feel when Between the Buried and Me has moments of just beauty, they're like completely fucking unmatched. And this album has a lot of those moments that just completely take your breath away and go, wow, this is amazing. So yeah. Number 6, I have Black Gives Way to Blue by Alice in Chains. This album, to me, you know, Alice in Chains is my favorite band, as a lot of you probably know that's been following this channel. They're my favorite band, and I got into Alice in Chains long before this album came, a few years before this album came out. And so when they were making new music, and I first heard,
Check My Brain.
No, not Check My Brain.
Your Decision.
No. God damn it.
My butt.
I have it here.
Check my
I pulled all this stuff up just in case, because I haven't listened to this album in a long time. A Looking in View. That song is so heavy, and then, you know, you hear William Duvall and Jerry Cantrell's harmonized vocals in there. You're just like, yes, Alice in Chains is back, and this is just exactly what I wanted, because, you know, you didn't think that they could find a good replacement for Lane Staley, because he's so special as a vocalist, and the chemistry between him and Jerry Cantrell is just perfect. And so they found William Duvall, and it's good, and it has its own style to it. I mean, I love the verses of A Looking in View. It's just the kind of the chugginess of the guitar, and then the atmosphere that's just created by the vocals are just completely just haunting, and it's great. But then the whole album is awesome, and honestly, a lot of these songs at first I didn't like. It took me a while to come around to this album, but when I found the beauty of it, it really hit me. Such as When the Sun Rose Again is an incredible song. Your Decision is great. The title track, Private Hell, I mean, it's a great fucking album.
I was gonna add the last song on the track.
Yeah, I mean, Black Gives Way to Blue it's a hard song to just describe. It's just such a special song. I very much think everybody should listen to that song if you haven't heard it. Anyways.
You know the difference between a mammoth and a mastodon?
What?
A mammoth lived in open fields, and its teeth were designed to, basically, eat food. Where a mastodon lived in a forest area, and its teeth were designed to chew up, like, branches and stuff. So it just kind of gorged, and mammoth grazed.
Oh.
The more you know.
There you go. Fucking weekly mammoth reviews.
Weekly mammoth reviews.
Yeah. Weekly animal reviews. So yeah. Awesome return for fucking Alice in Chains. Number 5. I forgot to put this album on the list, and then Keith brought it up, and I was like, fuck. This has to go on my list. Shogun by Trivium.
Yeah, dude.
I was gonna say, come on.
I would be ashamed of myself if I made this whole video and forgot this album. Dude.
Yeah, Shogun. Yeah, that's how the song goes, right?
Yeah. I remember, I got into Bullet for My Valentine, and then that kind of opened the doors to, like, more heavier music, you could say.
Yeah.
And Trivium was the next band that I really, really got into. And without Trivium, I probably wouldn't be listening to a lot of the music that I listen to today. I remember when Down from the Sky, when the music video came out, and I was like, wow, this is just awesome. And to me, this album is literally the peak of Trivium in their songwriting just as a whole, because it takes everything that Trivium did prior and just put it all together in such an epic and incredible way. Such as, it has the thrashiness from the Crusade. It has the metalcore of the Ascendancy. It has both vocally. It has the perfect balance between screamed vocals and clean vocals from Matt Heafy. It has just some of the best solos and riffs Trivium ever did. And then it has the fucking title track, which is amazing. And I feel like my life is complete now that I heard them play that song live. 2 years ago, I guess that was now?
No, only a little over a year ago. Well, I saw in December of like...
Yeah, I don't fucking remember.
So for me, it's a little over a year ago.
Yeah. But, yeah. It's an incredible album. I always get excited for new music from Trivium. They usually, I say usually now, put out a good album every time. But then I always get a little sad because I just feel like they'll never match Shogun. And I kind of want them to go back to this style. And the weird thing is that every time I've seen Trivium since Shogun, a bulk of their set list is Shogun. So it's like, I feel like you guys want to do more with Shogun, but you're trying to just become a little bit more mainstream. Just fucking go back to it.
Yeah, the only thing that I heard is that the vocals won't be back to where they are.
Yeah.
Because Matt Heafy blew his vocals out.
Yeah.
While on that last tour, which is why the vocals changed on whatever Silence in the Snow.
Mm-hmm.
So can he not do screamo anymore?
Not as
Not
much.
as much.
He still
barely,
does it.
Yeah, he barely does it
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
It's mostly Corey Bellahue.
Well, yeah. What about the other guy?
Yeah, he does it. And he's gotten much better. At first, when I first saw them in 2009, he wasn't as good as he is now. And same with their bassist in terms of backing vocals, was nowhere near as good as he is now. That they've definitely grown vocally a lot. So yeah. Number 4, I have Brave New World by Iron Maiden. What an incredible fucking album, man. This is, like he said, it's the best Iron Maiden album since Bruce Dickinson's return. Well, maybe. The Book of Souls is really good. So that's a toss-up. That's a debate. But it's definitely one of the best Iron Maiden albums ever made. I feel this album definitely stands toe-to-toe with a lot of the albums from the 80s from Maiden, to be completely honest with you. This album from start to finish is just incredible. Like, I remember hearing Dream of Mirrors on VH1 Classic. They played like Iron Maiden live in Rio at the Rock in Rio Festival, and they played Dream of Mirrors. And I'm like, what the hell is this song? And then I looked it up, and I'm like, wow, this is just... That song in itself is a fucking journey, and it's incredible. It's just the way that song builds up, verse after verse after verse, is so good. And then the title track is just phenomenal. Blood Brothers, I mean, The Nomad. It's a awesome album, man. It's everything you want from Iron Maiden. Just maybe without there's not a whole lot of, I'm trying to think, I put like speed to this album.
No.
It's more of a consistent pace, so you don't have those more like a run to the hills type of song, but it's the melody of Maiden that you love. Number 3, I have Alive or Just Breathing by Killswitch Engage. I think this is the best Killswitch Engage album. To me, this album kind of took metalcore to a whole new level and just kind of redefined metalcore. And this is a very important album in metal, I feel. And I feel a lot of people kind of look over that of this in terms of importance of this album. I mean, without this album, you wouldn't have a lot of fucking bands. I mean, yeah, there were bands like the Dillinger Escape Plan and like Converge a little bit before, but they're a little bit more of a different style than Killswitch Engage. But this album has so much raw intensity and it is so heavy. And there was... In 2002, there was no one that sounded like Jesse Leach in terms of vocals that did this like talky, grit through your teeth type of vocals, and then just complete, just in your face screams, and then has just the beauty. I mean, I absolutely adore the title track, and then you get something that is just groovy and heavy like Life to Lifeless or Fixation of the Darkness. It's a fucking masterpiece, man, and I'm so happy that I got to see this album played in its entirety, like 3 years ago now. That was awesome. So yeah. Number 2, I have The Blackening by Machine Head.
Oh, there you go.
This album is just a fucking masterpiece, man. I mean, when I first heard Machine Head, I hated them. That's when I was back like fucking Metallica and Megadeth, and that's it. But then they grew on me, and then just this album just hits so hard, man. This album is pissed off.
It's like a Mack truck.
It really does. And then you listen to Halo. I mean, that solo in Halo is one of the best solos I've ever heard. I love when it stops and then the guitar solo comes in. It just kind of builds up. It's so good. And that guitar riff during the chorus is just fucking awesome. But then, there's some really, really good songs on here that they never really play live, such as A Farewell to Arms, which is an epic fucking song. It's so good. And then they have Slanderous, which vocally is really just interesting. not something you hear all the time, and is just awesome. But then, you know, there's fucking ragers on here. Aesthetic of Hate, Beautiful Morning. Just it's a perfect fucking metal album, man. It has heaviness, it has solos, it's thrashy, it's fucking everything. And to me, Machine Head, Unto the Locust, Bloodstone Diamonds, great albums, but they still kind of live in the shadow of this album because they keep trying to repeat the success of this album. And I feel they've fallen short a little bit, even though they're still really good. And to me, nothing besides the album that came before this, which I'm blanking on the name. That album is good.
No, that's a song, Imperium.
Yeah, Imperium's a song on there. That album was good, but everything before that, I don't give a fuck. I personally, like, Burn My Eyes, I can't fucking stand that album. I don't know. It's just like, this is Machine Head. And maybe if I listened to Burn My Eyes, I would feel so much differently about Machine Head, but this is Machine Head, and yeah, it's an awesome album. Number 1, I have Blackwater Park by Opeth. Opeth is, to me, one of the greatest bands to ever fucking walk this planet. This is Opeth at their best because, and look, they don't really do death metal vocals anymore. Michael Ackerfeld has expressed that many times, that he thinks that death metal is boring and just metal in general is boring, and he doesn't want to do that stuff. And that's fine, because I think Opeth still makes fantastic music regardless. But this is, it does kind of make me a little sad at the same time, because this is so special. There's no one at the time that sounded like Opeth, and just their early albums are good, but then you got the, like, Still Life and then Blackwater Park back to back are just two of the most mind-blowing fucking albums you ever listen to. They mix beauty and melody with just fucking raw, just death metal. So in your face. And I'm not talking death metal like Cannibal Corpse or Obituary. Just a different style of it. I mean, the riffs don't even sound too death metal, yet they're incredibly heavy. And then there's just excuse me, moments of just complete beauty, and just I love the acoustic guitar, and then Michael Ackerfeld's clean vocals are just so just haunting and lovely to listen to, and you kind of just, when you listen to this album, everything else just kind of fades out, and you're so just completely soaked in this album, and it just completely sucks you in. And songs like fucking Harvest, which is an incredibly beautiful song, my favorite song, and probably my favorite Opeth song, maybe Bleak. That's the first Opeth song I heard, and I was like, wow, this is just incredible. And then the Leper Affinity that starts the album out, Blackwater Park, the title track, the Drapery Falls. I mean, this album is just literally, there's very few albums out there that I would say are literally masterpieces, and this is one that is a masterpiece to me, from start to finish, every note, every second. I wish Opeth would make music like this, but at the same time, I'm happy with what they're doing still. But it's my favorite album of the 2000s. 2000 motherfucking 1. I was 8 years old.
Yeah. I had a thought, and then I just aborted it. Like hardcore.
Planned Parenthood.
So yeah, those are our favorite albums of the 2000s. A lot of good fucking albums.
Yeah.
The more we talked about these albums too, the more I was like, fuck, I'm missing so many things. I mean, I really like my list, but there was a lot of albums that even when I made my list, I completely forgot. And a lot of albums that
was me too.
like, I forgot As I Lay Dying was a band, and I was like, wow, they put out really good albums with like An Ocean Between Us.
Forgot Creed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple.
I forgot Bullet for My Valentine. Screaming in Fire is a great album. Yeah.
You mentioned one. I don't remember what it was now. You mentioned one.
Meshuggah.
That I should have mentioned.
Meshuggah with
Meshuggah.
like nothing. Or Obzan. It's really good.
Meshuggah.
Yeah.
Metallica.
Meshuggah!
Sin and Anger, best album
Yeah.
ever created.
Thanks for watching. Let us know what your top albums of the 2000s are. Make sure you check out the 70s, 80s, 90s. See you later.